Alright, what's up guys? We're here. This is part 3. I'ma just get right to it. This is gonna be finishing the punching and doing the blocking as well. If my voice sounds a little stuffed because I'm sick. It was a lot worse, like I had lost my voice and stuff, but like I could at least like speak now, so let's get right into it. I'm gonna make a bit of changes to the old one. Actually, I don't think I need to change it actually, because I didn't do the limbs. Okay, so we're gonna use the module script. uh should I use module script? Yeah, because this is getting, yeah, it's not really getting crowded, but I think a module script would be nice to just keep this organized. We could do this without a module script actually. Okay, so go to the punchy script, not the local script but the server script, and just drop a few lines under the tables, and then do function do damage, right? So next we want a variable up here. We're just gonna call this damage, and this will be how much damage each punch does, right? So now what we want to do is make like a hitbox. So just make a part, and I just like to put it in front of like the character, and just resize it so that it's the size of like the actual like character. So 452 is a good size, and I just like to make mine like red, and I'm gonna make the transparency 0.5 for now. Name it hit box, so uppercase H, lowercase b. Make sure anchored is false, can't collide is false, massless is true. Now drag that inside of the punching server script, and then make a folder. Name it meshes, and I just like to put all the models that we have that's in a script, like for like a script in like the meshes folder. Next you want to go to the punching, and up here how we reference the animations folder, want to do local meshes is equal to script wait for child meshes. All right, so at the do damage function, right, we want to copy this name, and yeah, we want to copy it, and you see where we have action play, right? Oh, broke my script. Alright, you see how we have action colon play? What you want to do is call do damage as well, like right after that. So then what you want to do is you want to make a parameter in here, and we're gonna just call it humanoid root part, and this is gonna be the humanoid root part of the stand, not our character's humanoid root part, but the actual stand. Then what you want to do is you want to reference the humanoid root part that's in the stand. So for me, where am I gonna put this? I guess we could just do it right above it, and then we could do stand underscore humanoid root part is equal to stand find first child humanoid root part. So it's gonna find that, then we're gonna just put that in there so it looks like that. So you got these two lines right here, and then we're gonna go to the function do damage, and then we're going to also come here under twin servers. We're gonna do local debris is equal to game get service debris, and then at this point we want to do local folder Do the instance.new. We'll make the folder somewhere else actually. So right here, right? Like right above the stand humanoid report, we could just make the folder. So instance.new folder. Then we're gonna parent it to the character. And folder dot name is equal to what is it? We're just gonna call it effects. So one thing to note is that since I am putting it inside of the character, whenever you go into first person, you won't be able to see anything inside of the character, right? Because Roblox has like a module, like the player module, actually makes everything like transparent for the person in first person. So that's why like things look invisible when you're in first person. So we could probably just do workspace honestly. And then we're gonna do the breeze add item folder, comma, and then 0.5. So this will remove the folder in 0.5 seconds. That should be like a little bit longer than our animations are, just to give that time to like actually be removed. Sorry for the weird clip. So this gives the folder enough time to be removed, and then we're just gonna send the folder through the do damage function, and then come up here and just put folder right there. So now that we got that set up, we're gonna do local hitbox is equal to meshes, because that's where it's stored at. Wait for child hitbox colon connect, I mean not colon connect, colon clone hitbox dot c frame is equal to humanoid repart dot c frame times c frame dot new, and this will be placing the hitbox in front of the stand. So we're just gonna do -2, which is in front of the stand by 2 studs, and then we're gonna do hitbox dot parent is equal to folder, and then local weld is equal to instance dot new manual weld dot parent, not parent, part 0 is equal to hitbox weld dot part 1 is equal to humanoid root part weld dot c0 is equal to weld dot part 0 dot c frame to object space weld part 1 dot c frame. So this is just welding the hitbox to the stand. Weld dot parent is equal to weld part 0. Alright, so now that we got that, we want to do another thing. We want to send the character in the function as well. So if we scroll down to where we have the do damage function call, which is right here, and I'm gonna just do damage function. Excuse me. Do damage function, send a character, stand, humanoid root part, and the folder. So now for the hit detection, hitbox dot touched colon connect function, and then hit, right? Hit is whatever the object that we touched with the hitbox. So now what we want to do is we want to ignore the character in the stand, and we could just ignore the character because the stand is part of the character, right? So we could do if hit colon is a base part. So if we hit a actual part or a mesh part, which is what makes up the character models, then we want to check if hit or if not hits is the sin extent of characters. So if what we hit is not inside of our character or not a part of our character, then it can go on, right? And then what we want to do is find the humanoid. So we're just going to call it enemy humanoid, or hum is equal to hit that parent colon find first child humanoid, right? And then local enemy humanoid root part, and then we could just copy this line, paste it, and then just do humanoid root part right here, right? Then we're gonna do if enemy humanoid and enemy humanoid root part. Then so if we find a humanoid inside of like that character, or like if the character has a humanoid and a humanoid root part, then what we want to do is hitbox destroy, and then we want to do enemy humanoid colon take damage parentheses, and then we're going to do damage because that's what we called our damage variable, and it's going to do 10 damage each time, right? So if we test this, let's just press play. Not sure which stand I'm using, but it should work. It will work for R15 and R6. That's why I made it this way. So yeah, I'm using R6 right now. We hit the dummy. We got a error. C frame. I spelled something wrong. Oh, spelled something wrong right here. Make sure it's a lowercase r. So uppercase C and uppercase F, and everything else is lowercase. And then let me just make sure the dummy's health bar is on too. Just do that. Find a health bar. Always on. Then when we test, alright, so we're gonna spawn our sand. Then we're gonna attack. And when you see the hitbox, right? So that's how like a lot of people do it. And I can see why they do it now. Usually I would just have the hitbox on like the individual limb, but I think that only works like really great on R15 rather than R6. So I'm gonna just do something that could work for both rather than, you know, making it super difficult, changing it for the other, you know. So yeah, when we do damage, bow, 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 bam, we can do damage. So that works. I'm gonna just make sure my hitbox is invisible now, so transparency is at 1 now, and we're gonna work on blocking now. All right, sorry for the cut. So for blocking, right, I'm gonna have to teach you guys a bit of module scripts, but don't be like scared. I'm gonna try to like simplify it. So think of like a module script as like a more organized and more creative, like a more organized and more creative script, right? And think of that as think of it as is a very useful like, I don't even know how to like explain it, but it's very useful using module scripts, right? They keep your code like organized and clean. You can make different types of functions in it, like it's so nice, right? So what I want to start off with is make a folder, right? And I have it like side by side, so I can like sort of teach y'all as I'm like making it, right? And shout out to my boy Raul, because he was the one that taught me how to do like the dictionary, right? This dictionary, and I use it for like my combat now. Like every combat that I make, I always use this dictionary because it's just so nice rather than having to like do like so many objects and like have different objects in the character to determine if they're stunned or something. You could just put them in a table and then bam, you're done. Alright, so library, right? I don't even know if I spelled that right, but now you want to make a module script inside of it. Call this dictionary handler. This is the only thing that we're gonna like be calling to, if that makes sense, because this will have all of our functions, right? Like these are our functions that we're gonna be using, and in a dictionary it's just gonna hold all the stuff like the stunning, blocking if somebody's blocking, grabbing, whatever, you know. So oh boy, you want to just rename module to dictionary handler. You just replace the name like that. So make sure these names right here have to be the same, and this has to be in a module script or else it will not work. Okay, and so now what you want to do is make another module script inside of the dictionary handler and just call it dictionary. So this is the dictionary, and we can just change those names to dictionary. Okay, so what we want to do first, what we need to do is to call on a module, right? So in order to do that, we must first make a variable dictionary. And next we want to use require, because that's how you like require, you have to require a module in order to use it, right? So next what you want to do is just go script, wait for child dictionary, because dictionary is inside of dictionary handler. So you have to require the dictionary, right? Just like that, right? Now we need 3 functions. So we need function dictionary handler dot add 2, right? So whenever we call on this function, like when we're in the punches script, I'll show you in a little bit. When we call to this function, we have to reference the dictionary handler like how we're referencing the actual dictionary, right? So we're gonna do dictionary dot add 2, right? So this is the function, and this function can only be used on a dictionary handler. So that's why the dictionary is in front of it, right? Next we want to do function dictionary handler dot remove from, right? This will remove players from the dictionary once you don't like need them in there anymore. And then we need one more, which is dictionary handler dot find player, and this will be useful to find if a player is stunned or not, or like blocking or not, right? So we have these, right? Now what we want to do is we want to call dictionary and add 2, right? Well, first we want to make 2 parameters. We want a player, because that's the thing that we hit, and then we want the instead of calling it place, let's call it action, right? So action will dictate like what the player is doing, right? So if they're stunned, their action will be stunned. If they're blocking, their action is blocking, right? So just keep that in mind. So what we want to do is we want to do dictionary, and then we want to do the square brackets, right? Then inside of those we want to do action, Let me make sure I spell that right. And then we want to do another set of square brackets, and then we're going to do player, and then we're going to set that to true. So now before I explain what this does, right, let's go to dictionary, and inside of dictionary we want to make a few tables, right? So we want stunned, right? So we have stunned as the first table. Now you could just copy and do that. Now I'm gonna just tab it back, and you see how they have like underlines in them. You can't have two of the same names for like a value inside of this, right? So we have to change this. This is gonna be blocking, and I don't think we need a third one, so we could just remove that. We're just gonna be focusing on stunned and blocking, right? So now we're gonna go back, right? So let's say when a player gets added to stun, so when they're getting punched, they're being stunned, right? So the action, think of the action as stunned, right? So think of that as the same name as the place that it's going, right? So this was blocking, then they will be going inside of blocking, right? But we're gonna have it set actions so that we can just send the volley, like our action that we want to happen, like through the action rather than specific scripting, right? And then player, right, it's just telling what goes inside of the table, which is player, and then it sets it to true. So what this does is it adds the player inside of whatever the action table that it's going to. So if the player is blocking, it will go to blocking. If they're stunned, they will go to stun, you know? So now what we want to do is do dictionary, and then we just want to do the same thing right here, but instead of false, right, we're going to do nil, and that will remove the player from this completely. And we can just copy the same parameters right there and paste them there, right? Sorry for the word cut. So yeah, so nil will remove the player from the dictionary, so they will no longer be in here. And then the find player is, we want to return dictionary, and we still want to do player in action, right? And then do action player. So what this does is, instead of putting the player in a table or removing them from the table, it checks and see if they're in the table. Like whatever the action is, it's going to check that table that's equal to that action, and it will set them to, like, it won't set them, it will check inside of here and see if they're in that specific action. And if they are, return is gonna return true. And if they're not, then it's gonna return false, right? So just think about, if they found the player there, then it's gonna be like, hey, we found the player. If we didn't find the player, hey, we didn't find the player. Just think of it like that, right? So that's all we need for the dictionary. So if we go to punching, right, and now I'm gonna just look at my combat a little bit. So what we want to do now, right, is under the meshes, we want to reference server script service, which can only be referenced in a server script, right? So we're just going to do SSS is equal to game get service server script service, right? And then we're going to do local library is equal to SSS, wait for child, library, right? So we have the library and we have the server script service. Now we just need the reference dictionary handler, right? So the way we will do this is we will need the require, right? So we need to do local dictionary handler is equal to require, right? Library wait for child. I say library, it's so weird. So require library wait for child dictionary handler. So now we have the dictionary handler. So now what we want to do is we want to add sort of like a stun time, right? And in order for that, sorry for the weird cut. So now how we're gonna handle this is we need to make another table, and we're gonna call this players hit, right? A hot hit, right? And we're just gonna keep it like this, right? So now what we want to do is this will keep track of the stun times for like the people that are stunned, right? Sorry for the weird cut. So players hit will be this will keep track of like the stun times for the players being hit, right? So what I want to do is if not players hit and then square brackets, and then we want to do enemy humanoid, then so the enemy's humanoid is not found within player's head, right? Then what we want to do is want to call on dictionary handler that add to, and remember enemy humanoid will be going through there, and then stunned, because that's what we're doing when we hit a player, they're being stunned, right? And I'm just like flipping back and forth, just making sure, you know, I have everything like set and ready. So next what we want to do is we want to set them inside of players hit, right? So enemy players hit, square brackets, enemy humanoid inside of it, and then we want to set it equal to a time, right? So the way I have this, right, is 60 is a full second, right? 15 is 0.15 seconds, right? So I'll explain this a little bit more when I like get into like the while loop, but what you want to do is let's just set it to, do you want to do half a second or a full second? Let's do half a second, right? And then we want to change the enemy's walk speed to 0 and the enemy's jump power to 0, right? And then what we want to do is while wait 0.01 do, right? And so what we want to do is constantly check. So we want to, if we want to like check if the player hits enemy and I believe is greater than 0, then, and let me just check that. If it's greater than 0, yeah. So then we want to remove 1 from it, right? So that is, we're gonna do minus equal 1, right? So this is equivalent to saying this, that minus 1, right? This is the same as that. Just think of it as shorter and more compact, right? So yeah, let's do that. And then we want to do an else statement, right? So this will be if the thing, if like their player hit value is equal to 0, right? So what we want to do is we want to remove them from the players hit like a table. So we're going to do players hit enemy humanoid equals 0. And then we want to remove them from the stun. So you could just copy this line, do that, and instead of that, we could just do remove from, because that's the one that we're calling on, like these different functions based on the dictionary handler. So we have add to is when they get punched and they're stunned, and we have remove from, which is happens like after their stun is like completed, they get removed from it, right? And what this player hit does is it makes sure that they can't be like stacked stuns, so that like there's no like errors and like multiple stuns happening on one person. There's always one like same stun, and if they're hit again within this time frame, it just resets this time frame for them, rather than like putting them back in players hit, you know, and like stunning them all over again. And because you do not want like them like stacking like that, because then they'll just become like broken and like infinitely stunned. So that's why we have that there. And then we just want to sit there, movement speeds back to normal, and jump power. And I'm gonna change their walk speed to like something slow, like 8 maybe, so that like half the speed. They're super slow when they get hit, right? So since we got that, that should be good for the while loop, right? And then we're gonna do an else statement right here. So if we close this, right, the while loop, this if statement corresponds to this end, right? So we want to do is put an else right there, right? So this is saying if not player humanoid, then, and then this is going to say else if. We're just going to use else if players hit enemy humanoid, then, right? So it's just easier for you to understand. So if they're not hit already, then it's going to go through this one. If they are hit already, then it's going to go to this, right? So what you want to do is you want to just reset their like timer. So first hit will just be that, and then you just set them back to that, right? And this while loop will always continue until, you know, their like thing reaches 0. And then right here you put break, right? Because you don't want the loop to keep going once they're out of like stun, right? So it's just gonna break the loop after that, right? And then this is all you would need for stunning. So let me just make sure you got all of this. So this is the script as it, well, let's finish this real quick actually. So I'm gonna just like shorten this real quick. So for this, right, we want to make sure we check and see if they are stunned, right? So they can't like punch or summon or anything. We're gonna do this for the summon script too. But what you want to do is if not dictionary handler dot find player. So this is what we're using player like find player for. Humanoid, right? And then the categories and not, and the other category will be blocking, because they should not be punching while they're blocking, right? So we have this, right? And then we're just gonna do else. So if player is not stunned or blocking, and since this is a little hard to like read, let me just change this real quick. Where is it at? Comment color. Let's put this like a light green, like a green, right? Should be easier to read. So if the player is not stunned or blocking, then they will run this. So what you want to do is grab all of this from local stand, and you want to go all the way to the else, like the end, right? And then you want to copy it, paste it there, right? So you have all of this, and then you want to copy this, right? And just do that, right? So this just resets the combat if they are stunned. so they can't like punch. It just goes straight to this, and then it just resets their cooldown and stuff, rather than having them punch and stuff like that. So this is what this script like looks like right now. So I'm gonna just go down. Y'all can like pause the video. So yeah, so that's the full script for the punching. So for summoning, right, we just want to do the same thing. So if you go to, you grab like these three lines right here. This will be essential for the dictionary. You always need these 3 lines when you're using it, or else it will not work. So we have that like that, and we just want to do like the same if statement that we did right here. We're checking if they aren't stunned or not, then else, right? So is active, that's, I want to put this in the if statement, and then for the else statement, how do you want to handle this? We could do fire client as well, right? Summon fire client player, right? So now we're gonna need to go to the local script for the summon, and at the bottom right here, drop a line. I'm gonna do summon on clients event connect function. Then we're just gonna wait cd bounces equal to false, is active is equal to false, right? And it's just gonna make sure everything is back to false and stuff like that, right? And I don't want to do this actually. Debounce, I said debounce is true first, right? So that will help us with that. It's gonna wait cooldown, and then set it to this, right? So we should be good on this. So if I like do like a 2-player test, and let me close all this. If I do like a 2-player test, let me save this as well. Alright, so we have our 2 players, right? So we're just gonna spawn their stands. And if we click for both of the players, you know, they can punch, right? But if this player hits him, I'm left clicking, and you can see how he could not like punch or move, right? Like, so let me show you this real quick. See how slow he was for like half a second, right? Should be able to jump as well. See how when I get punched I'm slow, but like I'm fast but I'm not like stunned. Bam, slow. So I did now, I'm good. And you could just make it like a full second. So if you wanted to, you could change 30 to 60, and then that's a full second. You know, you just play around with different values, right? So let's publish that. And now for the blocking, right? This video is long actually. How long is this video? 44 minutes? Okay. We can do blocking. It should be fairly simple. So a local script, start a starter pack, call it blocking, right? And then a server script, call that blocking as well. a remote event inside of replicated storage. Call that block. So we have two scripts. We have local script, server script. I want to reference the player. His service players dot local player. Local UIS is equal to game get service user input service. Local debounce is equal to false. Local is active is equal to false. Local cooldown is equal to 2 seconds. And then we want to do local RP is equal to game get service replicated storage. And then local block is equal to RP wait for child block, right? So UIS that input begin, you should already know this. Input is typing. If is typing, then return. Else if input that key code is equal to enum dot key code. And a lot of people have like issues and problems with this. Make sure your C is capitalized. If it's not, you're gonna have an issue. And then we're just gonna do E as our blocking, but actually we're gonna use F as our blocking key, right? And then we're gonna do if debounce is equal to false and is active is equal to false, then debounce is equal to true, is active is equal to true as well. Then block fire server is active is going to be sent through that. Wait 1 second, and then set debounce back to false, right? So now we want to just pretty much just copy this, right? Paste it right here. Change input begin to input ended, right? So this is when you let go of the F key. This has to be set to false. This has to be set to true. So is active is equal to true. Then is active equal to false, but debounce would be still set to true. It's gonna send is active, and then debounce is false again. So bam, we got that. And then we're just gonna need one more thing, which is block one client event going connect, then function. Then we're going to do debounce is equal to false, is active is equal to false. Wait 1 second. No, I don't think we need to wait 1 second actually. Set debounce to true. Wait 1 second. Or CD, and then yeah. So these could be wait CD actually. So it's gonna wait the cooldown. And then now we have all that. Just copy these two lines, go to the server script, then go to find like the 3 lines that we needed for the library and the dictionary handler. And then what you want is an animation for blocking. So I'm just gonna make a R6 stand animation block. So let me just do that real quick. This is my blocking animation. So I just made it like 1 second long with the full thing, right? And then set animation priority to action. Also set it to looping, so click this button, toggle looping, then export. Now I'm gonna just call this stand block R6. Or just blah forever. Copy this, click the X. And since I have my preloader, I think I showed y'all last video, pretty sure. I'm just going here, make an animation object, paste the ID inside of it, and call this lock, right? Then copy the object, go inside of blocking and paste it, right? And then we're gonna go back to the local script. So instead of all of this, right, what we're gonna do is we're gonna do an else if statement, and we're gonna do debounce is equal to false and is active is equal to true, right? Then so we're just gonna do press rather than hold to toggle our blocking on and off. And then this is what it's gonna look like rather than like default, like both of those two things. So this is what the blocking local script looks like. And that should be fairly simple and easy. Then we're in the server script. So the server script, block on server event colon connect function. Then we're gonna do player is active. And then we want to reference the character. Player.character local humanoid is equal to character.humanoid local humanoid root part is equal to character.humanoid root part, right? And I'm still recording, yeah. All right, so now what we need to do is reference our stand like how we did in the punching. But before that, we want to just copy these two lines like we did. We do this, that, right? And then we're gonna do block fire clients player, right? So they can't like punch, I mean block, since they're like not blocking or whatever. Well, since they either are blocking or stunned. And if they aren't blocking or stunned, what you want to do is now you want to reference the stand, right? So local stand is equal to character find first child, and then the name of our actual stand is just stand. So then we're going to do if stand then, and then we're going to do an else statement, right? So the else statement means if we didn't find the stand, it's just going to fire the client and restart our cooldown, right? But if it does find the stand, and let me just double check, name is stand, we want to find the animation controller, so we can just copy this. Well, no, I'm not going to copy it. Animal control is equal to stand find first child animal control. If animal controller, then so if it finds the animation controller, now it has to find the actual controller, which is, if you remember, is the humanoid root part of the, like inside the humanoid root part of the stand. So what we want to do is we want to do local controller is equal to stand.primary part colon find first child controller, right? If controller, then so if it finds the controller of the stand, and let me just make spaces. So if it finds the controller of the stand, you know, it finds it, and you can copy this tween, right? Because this is fine if you want to copy that, so we don't have to retype it, and it's going to give you an error. It's because we need to reference local tween service up here is equal to game get service tween service, so we have that, right? So if we wanted to like play this right now, the stand will like block in front of us. Now I'm gonna just do 2 instead of -3. I'm gonna just do -2 right here, just so it's like closer to our player. And what is it? We want to copy this, right? we want to do if is active, then else, right? So if is active is like if the player is blocking, then it will do this, right? And then else we're gonna get into when we don't want the player to block. If player is blocking, and then we're gonna do if player is not blocking. I'm gonna change this color again, just so it's like more readable. Orange looks like a nice color. So if player is not blocking and if player is blocking, right? So we have these. Let me just. All right, so we have this, right? I'm gonna do local. We don't need action. I'm gonna do local anim is equal to anim control load animation script dot block, right? And let's do wait for child block, right? Just so it doesn't get confused, like confusing or anything. And then anim play, right? So we have this. If we test this, right? We remember you need to pull out your stand. If you don't, then you know the blocking just won't happen, right? So Q to pull out our stand, and F is blocking in front of us. See how we have it like that? So if we go back to blocking, right? We also want to change our player's movement speed to 8, and the player shouldn't be able to jump when they're blocking either. So we're gonna do 0, and then how else we want to do this? I think this should be it. No. We need to also add the player into the blocking, like dictionary, right? So remember, do dictionary, add 2, and then humanoid, and then blocking, right? So we're gonna add them to the blocking, so that way they are blocking, right? So now what we want to do is, if the player is not blocking or like turning off the block, still want to yeah, we want to reference the stand, like this whole thing actually right here. We want this whole thing. Copy it, paste it below, and I might be missing something. Just make sure I'm not missing anything. Let's do that. Bam. So if the player, like the stand, is found, if it isn't, then it's just gonna move on and reset the cooldown again. And remember this, so we have to put this back in the original spot. So the original spot for us is -3, 1, and 2. So that's how we're gonna have it right there. Next, instead of this line, well, first let's just change our like base stats on walk speed and jump speed back to the base numbers, and then we're going to change for add 2 to remove from. So remember up here, this one is using add 2 because this is the player blocking, and then this is the player not blocking. So what it's going to do is remove them from blocking, right? And what we want to do is we're going to do for, like a for loop, underscore track in pairs anim control get playing animation tracks, right? It's just gonna get all the animations playing inside of the stand itself, and then we're gonna do if track dot name is equal to block, because that is the name of the animation object that we're playing, right? Then track stop, right? So we don't want to stop all the animations, we only want to stop the block animation, and it should go right back to its idle, right? So let me just make sure everything is good. So yeah, everything should be good. If we check, this is like the full script for you guys, and this is like a super long video, so I'm sorry, but it just takes like a lot of time to explain and like script. So at least you're like learning a lot of stuff when doing this, right? And that should be enough for the blocking, right? So save file. We just click play, test it. The player should be able to block. We just 1 hour. Okay. So click F. Player is blocking. Stand is out blocking in front of us, and then if we click F again, which is not working. So if we go to block, right, and it's telling us that it's not working correctly. So did I do something wrong? Let me check. Oh, this part. So actually we want to remove this part right here, right? So it should only check if the player is not stunned, right? It shouldn't check if they're blocking as well, right? So if we test it right now, then it should work. So what was happening was, like, it was saying like, oh, you're in block, okay, I'm not gonna work anymore. So that's what it was doing. So if I click F once, it's blocking. Click it again, no longer blocking. And I can punch. And if I block and left click the punch, you can't block. You can't punch because you're blocking. And if you let go, you could just punch again with no problem. So now we want to go back to the punching like script. Let me just close this out just in case it's like getting crowded. And this is like the punching and the do damage function, right? We want to come right here, right, where we check if humanoid and if humanoid root part, and we want to do if not dictionary dot find player, and then enemy humanoid, and then blocking, right? So if they're not blocking, so yeah, if the enemy is not blocking, then this is if the enemy is blocking, right? So you just copy all of this right here, and this is what it should look like right now, and paste it all inside of here, right? So this all should just be in the not blocking part. So this is just saying like, hey, I can fight the player since, you know, they're not blocking, right? So since they're not blocking in this part, then, you know, it could destroy the humanoid. I mean, not the humanoid, but destroy the hitbox. They could take damage and be stunned and all that. And then if the enemy is blocking, right, you just want the hitbox to be destroyed and nothing else, right? And like sound, you can add sound. You will add sound, like the punching sound. You will add sound like right here when it does this like animation, and then you can have like a hit sound when it like takes damage, like right under here, right? So that's if you want sound. I'm not gonna add sound because I didn't prepare for sound, and it's just gonna make the video longer. Now I'm gonna just save, and then 2-player server so we can test it. Alright, so we have it loaded up. I'm gonna call our stands for both of them. So if I hit this player, right, bam, he can block now. But if he doesn't, so if I do that and I did it like fast, he couldn't block until like after he was unstunned, right? So now he's blocking, and you see we can't do damage to him. He's blocking, you know. And I'm not like making it as complicated as some games where you could like hit them from like behind. I'm just doing it general, so like if they're blocking, you can't like touch them, right? But as soon as he like go block, you can have fun and beat his face in, you know. So this is part 3. Uh, blocking and damage as well. I'm definitely gonna use this mesh for the barrage, right? And I'm gonna like space out the videos so that like they're not like daily, but like every other day. So by the time you see this video, part 4, which is the barrage, should be recorded. If it's not, probably gonna hate myself, but yeah, I'm holding myself accountable for that. So by the time you see this video, part 4 will be done. And let me know if you guys like this video. Sub, share, hit that like button. Let me know what other stuff you want to see on the channel other than like tutorials. I did like a little like question post, but like, you know, not everybody sees it and stuff. So just let me know in the comments what you want to see. You want to see like gameplay, more live streams, like game development live streams, whatever. Just let me know. And thanks for watching.